Well, hello everyone. I hope that everyone can hear me. My name is Jarvis Brewer. I'll be hosting this Lunch and Learn. Thank you all for being here today. I'm going to give it a couple of seconds just to make sure everyone has gotten in so that they can get the full presentation. Thank you, Troy. So while we're waiting for a few more seconds, we'll want to point out the features here. Of course, many of you have been participating in the Texas Rural Challenge thus far for the past 2 days, so you're probably aware of this, but there is a chat feature as well as a Q&A feature. At the end of this presentation, I will be taking a few questions, and be sure and put them into the Q&A tab, not the chat tab. That way I know the one place to look for these questions and address all of them. But definitely feel free throughout the chat to enter some good things, some good afternoons. I see you, Alberto and Brian. Thank you for bringing the positive energy into this Lunch and Learn. All right. It's 12:02, so I will go ahead and get started with this presentation to be respectful of everyone's time. Again, thank you everyone for being here. My name is Jarvis Brewer. I am a business assistant specialist with the Office of the Governor in the office of Governor Greg Abbott. Here's some contact information. I'll provide some more information here at the end of the presentation. But I'll go into a little bit about myself before I go into the presentation. So I'm actually pretty new with the office. I joined a little over 2 years ago, and within my first half year or so, we hit the year 2020, which I don't know if any of y'all remember that, but that year was one to remember. So it, very fresh with the office. The world went upside down, and within business assistance, I'll get into some of the things that we did in response to COVID-19, but it definitely made me learn a lot about economic development in our office and how we can be of assistance to the small businesses, which were, in my opinion, the hardest hit by the virus economically. So let me go forward with the presentation. Before I do, I want to give a great shout out to the Texas Main Street program. This is a program by the Texas Historical Commission, which I believe really targets the audience that this Texas Rural Challenge is designed to contribute. So the Texas Historical Commission has this program which identifies communities that have historic downtowns and to preserve those main streets. Being from a small town, I'm from Corsicana, Texas, which is one of the communities on this map. I know how the development of a small town and a main street can help the small businesses that are in that community. For most small towns, for most rural communities, small businesses is what drive that economy. So this is a great program for both revitalizing the downtown and main streets of the Texas communities, as well as helping out the businesses in that community. So definitely, I know there's a long URL and link down there, but definitely give it a look, especially if you are a city representative interested in getting your community notarized as a Texas Main Street city. So I'm going to start by talking about EDT, which stands for Economic Development and Tourism. Within the Office of the Governor, there are many different departments or divisions. Economic Development and Tourism is one of many. And within Economic Development and Tourism, there are many different smaller teams and whatnot. Here are the big six, the main six within EDT. We have Business and Community Development, Economic Development Finance. We have the Texas Workforce Investment Council, the Texas Music Office, Travel Texas, and the Texas Film Commission. Each one of these departments or divisions are designed to facilitate the economy in the state of Texas. They do it in many different ways, as you can see, film and music, or catering the entertainment industry in the state of Texas, where travel is catering to getting people to come to our state. The main purpose of all of these divisions is to facilitate the economy and essentially bring outside dollars into the state. Within small business, we fall into the business and community development. So I'll talk more specifically about what we do in BCD. So here are some of the missions of economic development and tourism: to market and promote Texas as a premier business location and tourist destination, facilitate new jobs and investment through the location, expansion, and retention of national and international investment. I'll talk about both of those here shortly. To administer state incentive programs for business and community development, to provide businesses assistance exporting products and services to international markets, to serve as a central source of economic research, and to establish strategies to address economic growth in targeted industries. So within BCD, Business and Community Development, we focus on the creation of new jobs and investment through domestic and international business recruitment, expansion, and retention. But for me, as you can see, small business and permit assistance is on here. We have many smaller teams in BCD, but small business is what we're here to talk about today. And within small business, we accomplish assisting small businesses in a number of ways. So there are the direct consultations and inquiries that we receive via our website, phone calls, emails, and before COVID, in person. So we are here to support small business in a myriad of ways, whether that's in funding, marketing, how you can grow your business, any kind of question that you have relating to business. Definitely feel free to give us a call. We're here to support you. That is our mission. That is literally our job, is to help small businesses. What we've found is that a number of people, in fact, majority of the people who contact us are people who are entering entrepreneurship or starting a business, or even just have an idea of want to start a business and don't know where to go. I can remember when I personally wanted to start a business, I had no clue of where to start. I just knew I had a great idea and I wanted to put it into reality. Well, I would have never thought to contact the governor's office as a resource, but maybe that's what we need to do. And that's exactly what I'm doing now, letting people know that, hey, we are a great resource for you to go to when you're thinking about starting a business. So we have a number of resources beyond our team to help you and guide you on how to create that business. We started in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Governor's Small Business Webinar Series. Before COVID, we had done in-person events, and we have broken the state up into 5 different regions. I'll show that map here in a second. And in each region, we would have 3 small business forums or series events. Each of these events, we would bring resources from federal, state, and local to provide information to potential business owners and current business owners. So no matter where you are in the business life cycle, there would be great information and resources there to facilitate you in your business goals. We also would have panels on some of the topics I mentioned earlier: financing, on marketing, on business growth, on how to get to the next level. So a number of different topics which are catered and in collaboration chosen by the community and our office to help the businesses in that community. So each event is tailored to that specific community and to the economy in that area. So that was before COVID, the in-person events. Of course, the pandemic made that a challenge. However, during the pandemic, we saw the greatest need for small business owners to get information. So that's when we switched to the webinar series. We saw that we still needed to put out a lot of information during a time when there was a lot of questions and the world was upside down. So virtually, just like everyone else, we went virtual. We saw that was a huge benefit and something we will probably continue to do in the future, because we can still put the same great information out, as well as have a great range of people and not be limited by geographical location. Additionally, on our website, we have a small business handbook. We've also have physical copies if you would like to contact us, or you can print it directly from our website. We conduct research and studies, which are also available on our website. And then, of course, the technical business assistance, where you can contact our team and receive direct assistance and consultation from our 3-person small business team. Yes, I did say 3-person small business team. I say that because in a state the size of Texas, we have 3 people who are assisting. So bear with us. We are very good, and we do respond to every single inquiry, but bear with us because we are slightly outnumbered. So along the lines of the small business team is the business permits office. Our business permit officer, Sonia, I'm sure she's in the audience right now. She answers a number of licensing and permits questions. She is the ombudsman liaison for the permitting and licensing assistance. So oftentimes when people are considering starting a business, one of the things that they think about is, I need a business license. Well, in the state of Texas, there is not a general business license. It does not exist. So oftentimes that is misconstrued with what we call business registration. So you may need to register your business either at the county level or at the state level. And then licensing and permits are specific to the industry, the products or services that you provide. So Sonia, as well as the online licensing and permits guide, which is there on the right side of the screen, has great information to guide you to if you need specific licensing or permits for your specific industry, product, or services that your businesses will provide. So again, information that our office provides through Sonia and our business permits officer that I would not have thought about to contact the governor's office to get, but yes, we are here fully to support you. However, I do have to put it out there. Our office does not issue any licenses or permits. So there is not one centralized place to receive all licensing or permits. However, the guide and Sonia are here to guide you in the right direction of where you would obtain the specific licenses and permits. So I mentioned earlier that we have broken the state of Texas into 5 different regions, Northwest, Central, East, and South. And in each of those regions, we have we would have 3 different in-person events before COVID. We are resuming our in-person events now that we are getting back to some sense of normality in the world. And this year we will be having one event in person in each one of these regions. Dates and locations are to be determined, but they will be out very, very soon. So additionally, in these regions, we have a regional representative. So if this is Central, I know this is UTSA hosting this Texas Rural Challenge. Kate Stanford would be the representative that covers the Central Texas region. In fact, I'll go ahead and put up the map. Here's the map. Depending on where you're at in the state of Texas, this is your direct liaison to our office. These women are spread out across their region on a daily basis. So they can be in one city on one edge of their region on Monday and a different city on the other edge of the region on Tuesday, and so forth. They are there to be there for the ribbon cuttings to help you individually on any kind of need. Where I'm more focused on small business, any of those teams or divisions in EDT, our regional representatives are there to assist you on the ground level with those needs. So definitely, depending on where you're at in the state of Texas, contact our regional reps if you do have a specific need and would like to even just have OOG, Office of the Governor, representation for major events that are happening in your region. So COVID-19, I've already mentioned it a couple of times, but I do want to mention kind of what our office, um, some changes that were put into place in response to the pandemic. As I mentioned, we switched to the webinars last year, and where we would typically have a few hundred people at an in-person event, we were expecting that going into the planning of our first webinar. We planned our first webinar on, I believe it was a Wednesday of one week, to happen on the Wednesday of the next week. So within a week's time frame, because things were happening so rapidly at that time. And so, we had the full expectation of having a few hundred. Within that one week, we exceeded over 4,000 people registered for that webinar. And it definitely showed, one, that we needed to get the information because there was a demand for the information, as well as it showed that we could have a much wider breadth of people participate and receive the information than we could in an in-person event. So the webinars definitely were a huge resource that the Office of the Governor used last year to put out the information, especially relating to the CARES Act, which had a lot of information, or a lot of different and constantly changing guidelines, rules relating to the small businesses, whether it was the PPP or the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. The things were very rapidly changing and very fluid. So we wanted to present that newest, most recent information to the Texas small businesses, and the webinars were a great asset. Therefore, we will be continuing the webinars, but as I just mentioned, they will be alongside of our in-person events, because I think you cannot replace that in-person feel and having the physical state agencies, federal agencies, local community there in person. So further on with the COVID-19 response, we created a monthly newsletter which had updates on a monthly basis. That still continues, as well as our quarterly newsletter, which is not COVID specific. We have the FAQs and business permits FAQs, which are also on our site. The resource page for small business in Texas communities, you can see the URL there, where you can go directly to our website, gov.texas.gov/coronavirus, and get the most up-to-date information and resources. So now I'm going to look big picture. Why Texas? Why does a company choose to come to Texas? And again, our whole purpose in EDT is to facilitate economic growth in the state of Texas. And the best way you can do that is by bringing outside money in. So circulation of monies in the state of Texas does not necessarily create growth. So again, we're focused on the state level, but I want to apply this to a community, and then even down to a more micro level, to an individual business. So why Texas? Why does a company, why does an individual choose to come to Texas? So I'm going to go through a little bit of brags. Again, I recognize that everyone, for the most part, everyone in the audience is probably already here in Texas, and I don't need to sell you on why Texas, because you either were lucky enough to be born here in the state of Texas, or you decided, I'm going to come to Texas. So either way, we're glad to have you here in the state. So, but here are some of the brags. So the economic strength in this state: no corporate income tax, no individual income tax. That is a huge driving factor for why people want to come here, or very tax friendly. Excuse me again. Texas is the nation's leader in job growth, and that has continued even post COVID. I know we're not done with this coronavirus, but we're in the rebuilding, and we are continually adding more jobs after the peak of the pandemic. Texas was the nation's top exporter for the 19th year in a row. 50 states, 19 years in a row, top exporter. We are very well positioned to have our goods sent to other states. Texas is the 9th largest economy in the world. Yes, I said that correctly. 9th largest economy in the world. That includes the United States. So having state that has that kind of an economic power is huge, because just as much as people want to be in this great country, people want to be in this great state. And ahead of Australia, Mexico, South Korea, and Russia, the state of Texas has a stronger economy than those countries. So Texas has the second largest civilian workforce. And I'm going to hit on workforce again here in a second, and why that's important to us in the rural communities. And then, of course, Texas ranks #1 in the nation for foreign trade zone activity. So that's imports and exports. So workforce. The state of Texas is becoming more diverse, and it's continually growing, as I just mentioned. And workforce changes and grows with that. More than 14 million strong. The Texas civilian workforce is the second largest in the nation. So within the 50 states, again, Texas #2 in the workforce. Texas is a popular location for talent to relocate. I believe the next slide we'll see about people coming into Texas from other states, particularly, don't want to say it, but in California, there's a lot of Californians coming to the state, bringing talent from another state. So while we are concerned with bringing outside funds, we're also concerned with bringing outside talent. It's equally as important. I'll actually skip through the rest of this. So with the population growth, the flow of people moving to Texas from across the U.S., you can see California, 62,000 people, and this is all from 2019 numbers. You can see other states, our neighbors, of course, Oklahoma, Louisiana, they're coming to Texas. New York, a huge contributor. So why are these people coming to Texas, and how can that be something that we utilize and take advantage of in our rural communities? In a slide that's coming up, we're going to see some of the industries and some of the businesses that have moved or are expanding in the state of Texas. For that, I'll go over this quality of life. So the quality of life is a huge thing. If a person is thinking about coming to the state, can I afford to live here? What kind of services, what kind of entertainment, what kind of quality of life will I have in that state? And again, while I'm looking at this at a state perspective, this is equally important at the community perspective. So again, communities, if we are a rural community, a person who is looking to come into your community, they're considering the same thing, whether it's another city in Texas or community in Texas versus your community. What kind of quality of life? What kind of workforce? All of these things that I'm mentioning at a state perspective are equally important at the local level as well. So while Texas is growing, we want to ensure that our rural communities, our rural businesses are also equally maintaining that pace and growing with them. And there's ways that we can be effective in driving that in our rural communities. So here are some of the international companies in Texas that are coming here. You can see Bayer, you can see Toyota, IKEA even. So all of these companies, Texas is becoming the #1 destination for #1 destination state for foreign investment. So why are these companies outside the United States investing in the state of Texas? And how can we take advantage of this? Well, if you see the industries on here, which there's a wide range, and on the next slide, we'll see all of the different industries. Does my community provide the workforce that these industries need? Is my business, my individual business, something that can benefit from these companies coming to the state of Texas? Mitsubishi on here. Do I make a product that Mitsubishi could use? Toyota. Do I have something that Toyota could utilize in their vehicles? Sony. Do I make something that Sony can benefit? Could I be in a cog in their big machine? So that's ways that we can position ourselves at the state level or local level to benefit and to entice these companies to use us and come to our locations. Here again, we got the Fortune 500 companies that are across the state, or excuse me, across the country that have moved into the state or expanded within the state. A recent relocation to NRG. You can see all of these big names from Exxon to Southwest, Texas Instruments. So some of these companies have uh, been in Texas and decided to expand, and some just completely moved into the state. A big one that came from last year during a horrible year and a pandemic year. Of course, well, a lot of people are aware of Tesla coming here. That was big for the state of Texas and big for the community that they decided to build in and relocate to. So again, how can we position ourselves in our rural, in our metropolitan communities to benefit from the appeal? And what is appealing these companies to move to Texas? So business development update. I'm going to show a chart here, and here you can see the industries that are growing. 54%, I don't know if that text is too small for everyone, but that large, over half the pie, is manufacturing. Does my community, does my individual business manufacture something that a larger company, an international company, a Fortune 500 would want to take advantage of? Can I position myself to be that cog in their big machine? So again, it's bringing that outside company, that outside money, that outside talent even, or showing that you yourself have that workforce. If you're at a community, does your community provide the workforce to supply manufacturing or scientific and technical services? Does my community provide the utilities or finance and insurance? Whatever it may be, I think identifying what our community, what our businesses have can help us to target and bring in these other companies and facilitate economic growth in our individual communities, in our individual businesses. So here's just another kind of a brag, some of the things that have happened over the past year. So total investment announced in 2020, more than 12.9 billion. That is a huge amount of money from outside companies wanting to invest in projects in the state of Texas. If your business could take a fraction of that 12.9, how much could that change your individual business? There were more than 800 new projects announced last year. If you do the math, not very good at but that will be roughly about 70, or a little less than 70 per month. That is huge. So that's over 2 a day. So if you could be a part of that, how could that affect your community? How could that affect your company? More than 44,000 new jobs. Are those jobs coming to my community? How can my community appeal to some of those jobs? 60 projects by California companies, again, driving from outside the state of Texas into the state. What is causing these other states to send their companies, send their people to our state, and how can you position yourself to be a part of it? So I know that was extremely quick, but I do have to put the disclaimer out that while we are focused in the state of Texas in helping all businesses, whether it is small, large, medium, I spend majority of my day assisting individual small businesses. So with their individual unique situations, and that could be, again, over a number of different topics. So I would love to take some questions if we have people in the audience who have specific questions, and maybe I can use an example of how I would go about answering that if this was a real live scenario of a business reaching out to me in my office. And so I'm gonna, at this time, go to see if anyone has entered some questions in the Q&A. Definitely feel free to continue to do that. Give me 1 second as I pull it up. No questions. Wow, that's wonderful. That is wonderful. Well, I hope that, I see Helen has said something. I may have missed speaker noting this, but how can we learn about which companies are coming into Texas in early phase? So while we don't track every company that is coming into the state, we track the companies that deal specifically with our office, and more importantly, that are looking for assistance from our office. So if every single company will not be listed with us that is moving into the state of Texas, especially early stage, most of the businesses that are moving into Texas are going to be larger companies that we track. All right, I see, Helen, you also asked if it's doable to obtain the slides. Okay, yes, I will work with Troy to make sure that everyone who's here or anyone who needs can get access to these slides. You can contact me directly. I'll go to the slide where my information is. Actually, we have I'll just go to this. Right here is some contact information. This email address, smallbusiness@gov.texas.gov. That is a great email address for all inquiries. You can email us directly. Myself and the rest of the team, we answer that and go through that inbox many times a day. If you send something in there, you'll likely get a response within that same day. So if you would like a copy of the slides, I'm sure I'll provide them to Troy, but you can contact us directly there as well. All right, Diana, I got you. Deirdre, I apologize if I'm mispronouncing your name. Thank you for the compliment on the Texas cheerleading. I have to. It is literally my job to promote the state. So I'm happy to do it. Well, okay, we do have a question in the Q&A. All right, I see Brian has put in there, should I target one segment of the industry? All right, Brian, so are you, I have to ask, are you concentrating on the perspective of, are you a business owner? Are you a community representative? Let's see, give him a chance to respond. All right, I see you did put learn more technology, skills, training, deliver on and offline skills, training. How can I connect? So, Brian, I do have to ask, are you asking from a community representative perspective or from an individual small business perspective? Business owner, okay. So you're, in this question, I believe Brian is asking, okay, so should I target one segment of an industry? And I assume he's saying if he wants to be a part, as I mentioned earlier, a cog in a larger machine, should he target one industry sector? Well, honestly, this is something I've actually said to communities before, and it applies to businesses as well. Know what you do well. So identify what it is that you and your company does well, and then you go from there. If I do something well, that could be something that I use to identify who I would want my target audience to be. Because there may be an industry that is in needing something, but you don't simply provide that product or service. So you may enter into providing a product or service that you don't necessarily do well. So my suggestion is know what you do well, what your industry already is, what you were passionate enough to start a business for or in, and then see where that is needed. So let what you do drive who your audience is. Hope that was helpful. Well, I don't see any other questions in here. Let me go back here. Helen, any data available on green projects, large solar farms, battery sites? So again, unless they've had communication with our office, we wouldn't know that information. Our projects team, I'm not a part of the projects team, which deals with the larger businesses. If they have had interaction with these projects, and if it is open information, our projects team would have that information. But me as a small business assistant, I personally have not had any interaction with green projects or large solar farms or whatever it may be. But again, even for our projects teams or any department or team within our office to have that information, the company would have decided to interact with us. We don't just maintain a listing of all businesses coming in or out of the state. All right, so if no further questions, I don't see if anyone else. I hope. Oh, I see Michael Wilson has provided some information from Texas Tech, and I believe is directed towards Helen's question. All right. And also, I believe Diana has also provided some information. So thank you both for providing that information for Helen. Hopefully that is more helpful than I've been in answering her question. I'm going to give it another second to see if anyone has any other questions. Otherwise, I will go ahead and finish a little early. Oh, Jason, glad to have you here. The Texas Deaf Chamber just got up and running due to the great work on behalf of Jason Shaw. Congratulations to you. The picture of Sonia Gillier, who I mentioned earlier, and Jason, I saw that on LinkedIn. Great to have you here, and congratulations, Jason. Well, if nothing else, again, I appreciate everyone for being here. I hope that I've been able to be helpful. I will give these slides to Troy so that he can disseminate as needed. Again, if you do need anything from our office, do not hesitate to give us a call. It's absolutely what we're here for, is to support Texas's small business, whether you're in a metropolitan or rural community. Thank you all for being here. You'll have a great rest of your lunch and day.